Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Kennel NRL podcast. This is a bit of an impromptu live, but honestly, I was so excited to get it started because we have a bona fide, baked-in Bulldog supporter who lives in New York. Now, he releases great cricket content on Instagram where he teaches Americans what the heck cricket is, comparing it to baseball and all the other sports. But I'm going to introduce Adam and let him introduce himself to us. Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Owen. Thanks for having me on, mate. Yes, diehard doggy supporter, blue and white. I got the jersey on. The background, even with the cricket, is always filled with all the doggies stuff in the background. And yes, your question was to me, even before we jumped on, how the heck did I become a doggies supporter now that I live here in the US? So I'm going to take you through a little journey. So I was actually born in Newcastle, Nova Castrian. So grew up a Knight supporter. Okay, so that's how I grew up. And 97, right? 97, they win the grand final against Manly. Okay, so I watched that as a 7-year-old. Andrew Johns back on the inside. They scored the try in the final minutes. It's probably the greatest grand final ending ever in NRL history. Oh, but maybe the Queensland and the Cowboys.
2015, yeah. 2015,
yeah. Another one also, yeah. But that was a perfect, that was a good moment, as a 7-year-old. But in the moments, I don't know how old you are, but in the days and weeks after that 97 grand final, Johns, Danny Johns, and a couple other guys, Adam McDougall, got done for performance-enhancing drugs. So as a 7-year-old watching that on TV, watching the news, watching my heroes getting done for drugs, I was like, I can't be a Newcastle supporter anymore. I have to change teams. Wow. So at the time, my auntie lives in Sydney. She lives in Sydney, and she was involved with the Canterbury club. And so one of my favorite animals is the Bulldogs. And I just started to switch teams. So I decided to become a Doggies fan. So 1998. At the end of the 97 season into 98, I became a Doggies fan. So we started going to the games. Like I said, she worked for the Dogs. So I started getting the jerseys, going to the things. Terry Lamb's autobiography was like a birthday present or a Christmas present. She'd give me all the posters with all the signed from all the players. So I got invested from 98. And 98, went to the grand final. That season had one of the greatest semifinals of all time. The Eels semifinal, Darryl Halligan kicking the goal from the sideline. And then the field goal that we thought went over but didn't go over, a huge comeback. And we ended up winning. Yeah, we end up winning in extra time, and we go to the 98 grand final and lose to the Broncos. Right. But that's where it started was, I was born in Newcastle, wasn't a Newcastle fan, gave it up. Morally, I couldn't support anymore, and then I became a Doggies fan. I've been a Doggies fan ever since, and that's been how it started. Was then. So
that is such a cool story. I just want to start at the age of 7. How do you come to that decision? Because as a young kid, you love your team, and these guys cannot do any wrong in your eyes. How did you come to that decision to say, no, I'm actually going to give up supporting the Knights? Even though they had just won one of the most, as you say, memorable grand finals ever, the Andrew Johns, arguably one of the best players that's ever played the game, and you just said, nah, stuff it, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know. As a 7-year-old, I was kind of a straight-edge kid. I was like a goody kid and never did anything wrong. And I just thought that was I couldn't support a team that did that. And I mean, I picked a team that never had any controversy ever. The Dogs have never had controversy ever, right? So yeah, I picked a team that would definitely be straight edge. But then once from that decision, because I made that decision for the Knights because I lived in the area and that was the first team, because my old man supports St. George Illawarra. Okay, he was born out west in the bush at New South Wales, and then he moved to Sydney, and then somehow he got invested in St. George. But then I was like, I have no connection to St. George. And then, being my mom and that grew up in Newcastle, we went for Newcastle. And then I was like, no, we can't be doing drugs. We can't be doing that. So Christian teams. And like I said, my auntie had full access. So she worked for the club. And, when you're getting all the posters and you're getting all the jerseys and you're getting signed things, it makes it all more real. And that's kind of how that started.
That's pretty cool. And I mean, Terry Lamb's a pretty good player to have in the team.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Even though it was sort of at the end of his career or whatever. But
well, you got like you mentioned this before, the 95 grand final going off on a high. You know what I mean? Like that was, I guess, the end of an era. Like he would finish his career as I was getting into the sport, obviously because age bracket. But yeah, I mean, from there, it just grew. And then by the time we hit like 2002, all of a sudden now we've got like the world's greatest team, but we're over the salary cap. I think that's like that's an era of the game that we'll never see again. Like that team from 2002 was like, you think about it, you got Marco Mealy, you got Willie Mason, you got Sonny Bill, like you got Andrew Ryan, like that group of people, like up the forward pack, like this, the way the Dogs played was unbelievable. And I think one of my hot takes, I don't know if we get into it, one of my hot takes is one of the most undervalued or underlooked at footy players was Shifty Sherwin. Like, because he never played rep football, but he was involved in that streak, the streak they had during that season, and then winning the grand final eventually against the Roosters in 2004, which again was another amazing game. But I mean, the stories, I mean, that's just how it was for me growing up, is just doggies, all the time doggies.
There's so much I want to touch on. Like, firstly, Shifty Sherwin, like, what an amazing halfback. As you say, very underrated. At one point I thought he had the best short kicking game after Andrew Johns. His footy IQ was next level. I remember back then he was doing things like kicking when, if it was, a 20-meter restart, he was kicking the ball on the 20 at the, trying to get the ball to go out so we can start further up the field. The way he would kick his little inside, he was a great player. But I mean, then you had players as well who were also fantastic. Like, if you think about, we had Jonathan Thurston coming off the bench. Like, that bench, that forward pack. I often, so my co-host for the podcast that we did every Tuesday night, he's a mad Dragon supporter, but he's like a walking rugby league encyclopedia. And we always say that Bulldogs team of 2004 should have won more grand finals. We honestly should have won at least another one or two. Like, that should have been a legacy era style team, in my opinion. And it's kind of like, you look back and you think, yeah, it's a bit of a shame that we didn't. But there was a lot of controversy, and that 2006 semi-final against the Broncos, I will never, ever forget. I maintain to this day that there was something fishy about that loss. I'm not saying it was rigged. I'm just saying there was something fishy about that loss.
I have to go now and revisit that game to really paint a picture of what happened in that game. That's something that doesn't like ring a bell right away. But like, think about, like I said, you mentioned we should have won more. Like in 2002, we would have won the comp. We would have won both. We won the minor premiership. We would have won the major premiership. That would have been no doubt. And then in 23, we probably could have gone again. And then 2004, because I know that a lot of the guys from the Breath and Asta came out recently with some speaking about it, and they all took pay cuts. Like, the other way that happened was they all took a pay cut to stay together, to keep the team together. They knew they had a premiership in them, and made it happen, and they got it done. And that's but I think they still could have gone on to more. And then even when you move into the 2012, 2014 new era of the Dogs, we had two bites at the cherry and couldn't get it done. And I think that's like, if you, like, a lot of, obviously you get upset if your team loses the grand final, but losing to the Bunnies was like, I'm okay with that, because the Bunnies is everyone's kind of like other team. Even if it's not your team, you have a soft spot. Everyone has a soft, I don't know how you feel. I think everyone has a soft spot for the Bunnies. You don't have a soft spot for the Bunnies? Bro, I had a soft spot for the Bunnies. Getting knocked out of the comp and getting back in, the story behind it. I was like, if we're going to lose to someone, I'd rather lose to the Bunnies than Melbourne. Jeez, don't lose to Melbourne in the grand final. Come on.
I don't. To be honest, up until that point, I didn't really think too much of the Rabbitohs, but the absolute carry on by rugby league, by the NRL, by everybody involved to back the Bunnies that year, it was just like we stood no chance. Because I spoke to James Graham last year actually on the podcast, and I actually asked him about it, and he was sort of saying the same thing. It's like the NRL put its weight behind like the Rabbitohs juggernaut, and even though players try not to pay attention to the outside media, you can't help but feel like there's not an agenda, but like there's a surge, there's a wave that you sort of struggle to fight. Look, they had a great team. Like they had Sam Burgess, they had Tom Burgess, George Burgess, Greg Inglis, one of the best players we've ever seen. They had a young Adam Reynolds. So no denying, I think Luke Curie played. So like no denying they had a great team. But I have no soft spot for the Rabbitohs. And let me tell you, one of the sweetest games I've ever seen, and I know this is very, very much recency bias, but the 32-0 smashing, right, that we gave them earlier this year at Accor Stadium, where we had like 69,000 fans. I was there. I have a vlog of it on the podcast. It was the best game, like the best atmosphere. And I was so happy that we had finally beaten the Rabbitohs on Good Friday, because our history, we hadn't beaten them since like 2018. And Gerard Sutton always favored them. Like, I think he's the one ref in rugby league that I reckon is just, he needs to be sent out to pasture. I think his time's done as a rugby league ref, to be honest. I do want to ask you a question. Given that you were so against what Andrew Johns and some of the other players had done in terms of, performance-enhancing drugs, what were your thoughts on the Dogs signing Bronson Sherry?
Well, I mean, like for me, the way that things shake out these days, I mean, I am not as invested as I used to be. Like back in those days when I was like everything I did before I moved to America, everything was about the Dogs, right? And then everything that's happening now, I glue on, or I jump on and look and see what's happening. And I'm just like, oh yes, we're finally having a season that's working for us. We've had a couple of seasons of like absolute nothing, like bottom of the table kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
this year for me has been a resurgence of really getting back into it. I know we've had a lot of things happen this year with the but adding in Sexton moving out of position and getting the new signing in. And it's been, kind of like trying to catch up on everything, because all these games happen for me, they happen at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. And then you kind of follow along. Okay, we're top of the comp. We're still doing good up in there. So I don't know everyone specifically right now. Like I'm more like Bulldogs history. I'm more like a Bulldogs history buff, because that's like I was watched every game religiously from 2000 through till I kind of left like till 2014 ish, because I left Australia in 2014 to come to America. So since then, it's been less of the Dogs, and the Dogs have been pretty poor, honestly, since that point. They haven't
honestly, it was pretty much since 2014. Honestly, since you left, it's been like downhill. Honestly, up until last year, it was pretty bad. Like we hadn't really had any impact. And so the games are at an inopportune time. Do you rewatch the games? Do you wake up for them sometimes? Do you?
No. Yeah, so right now I get up and I'll just watch the highlight reel. Like the investment in the NRL watch is I'm probably going to do that now for the finals. And so I get up for Origin. Like Origin is something that I wake up early for to watch. Like I have the Blues flag up there, obviously diehard Blues fan.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And the State of Origin is obviously the pinnacle event, I believe, in all sport. And one of my big things here in being in America is teaching Americans Australian sports, which is where this whole cricket thing came from. The rugby league thing is another passion that I want them to get involved with. Obviously, the LA Vegas is trying to help that. I posted some videos of the LA Vegas at the beginning of the year or whenever that took place, and to try to get them involved, because I believe Americans would love rugby league, considering that they watch the NFL. I don't know if you've ever been to the States to watch an NFL game, or if you've sit to watch a game, but it's long. It's very long, and the hits is just as impressive, but there's all these breaks. It's football with breaks. You break every 10 seconds as a break. And I'm like, imagine if there was no breaks. Imagine you just had action the whole time, And there
was no pads.
There's no pads. Yeah. There's no pads. But I think Americans like the breaks. It's part of like the sporting event here. You're not fully invested in eyes glued to the game, because in rugby league your eyes are glued for 40 minutes. You don't take your eyes off the screen for 40 minutes. You're watching it. In NFL, you're watching 10 seconds and then you're looking away. You're not looking at the game. And even if the game's happening, you're still not even watching it, which is different. So I've been to a college game, and it was just a different vibe. Being to dozens of rugby league games, it was just different being at an NFL game. But they're into it, so I hope they move over and come to the rugby league.
Yeah, so actually last year for the first final, the Dogs against Manly, I was actually in New York for work, and so I watched a Jets match. So I actually went to the New York Jets at their stadium, and look, wasn't a bad experience. I enjoyed it, but it doesn't compare. But what Americans do very well is their like game day experience.
Yes,
the hype. The stadium is just amazing. The food vendors, the people, the marshals, the noise, the activity, the transport to get to the stadium. Like I don't think there's a single stadium that would even come close to comparing to the New York Jets stadium, which for me was just mind blowing because it was amazing. Like the only thing I took away from that was NFL's and their sport, I think. But their stadiums and the way they do sport was amazing. I was going to go to a college football game as well. I couldn't because work came up, whatever. But they do sport so very well. So okay, so let me ask you this. Rugby league, obviously, NRL is trying to break into the American market. It's going to be a 10, 20, 30-year project. And I think Americans will like rugby league. They sort of know rugby. I don't know if they know the difference between rugby and rugby league.
Yeah, no.
But are there any other Bulldogs fans you've come across in New York, like for the big race of the final? Are you going to be watching it with other Doggies fans, or are you watching it on your own?
So it's been really cool. Like doing the cricket, it opens up a conversation with people. I talk about cricket openly, and recently a conversation came up with someone. I also work as a coach, as a personal trainer studio, and I was talking about it, and one of the clients was like, "Oh yeah, I know cricket." And I'm like, "How do you know cricket? How does that happen?" He's like, "Oh well, I lived in Sydney for like 10 years. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, when? Like, when is it? When and where? He's like, oh, I lived in Earlwood. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, I kind of know where that is. And he's like, oh, yeah, I had a restaurant in Leichhardt. And I go, oh, okay. So what are you? You a Tigers fan? He's like, no, I'm a Doggies fan. And I was like,
wow.
Oh, no way.
That's insane.
And then he goes, yeah. I'm like, what kind of restaurant? He's like, a Lebanese restaurant. He's like, I'm Lebanese. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, it don't make sense. So we just like hit it off about that, and it was next level. So yeah, that's so yes, I have one Doggies fan. I have one Doggies fan over here, so yeah.
That is insane. Like, just how does what a small world. Like when you catch up and meet someone who's a doggy, like this guy's a baked in, like absolute, rusted on doggy supporter. He's Lebo, had a Lebo restaurant. You could sure as hell bet, like he had his restaurant flagged up and down with the Bulldogs colors. That's insane. That is sick. And so, like, how do you or have you had any success in sort of speaking to people about rugby league, extolling the virtues of the greatest game of all?
Yeah, so I've made a couple, like I said, I make a couple of videos explaining how to play that have gotten the pretty good success. I've got a couple 100,000 views, just like me in front of the TV, walking them through it. And then I've done a couple for the Origin last year and this year, because that's Origin's, I think, the biggest thing. Americans love the pinnacle sports and the Super Bowl and everything. And I'm like, yeah, well, so we get to have 3 Super Bowls. We get to have it 3 times. Yeah. Well, I guess you can say 4 times if you include the grand final, right? Like the state of origin is, and I talk about the state of origin from a place of the big difference culturally between being an Australian in America is the mate versus mate, state versus state scenario. Like that's the difference about being Australian and growing up in sport, is that like these guys are playing in the same club on Saturday, and then on Wednesday they're going to go out and smash each other because they come from that state, or they come from a different state. And it's not like they have here where they have the flag football, pro football, and it's all no one wants to get injured during the All-Star games. No, this is an All-Star game where honor is the winner. Like, you're doing it for honor. Like, you're doing it because that's where you're from. Like, you're doing it, like, you're putting more emphasis on this game than the rest of the regular season. You know what I mean?
Players are upset they can't punch each other out. Like, that's
right.
Like, they're upset that they've stopped allowing people punching.
I missed the biff. Bring back the biff. Some of the stuff I see stuff, I'm like, oh, what are we getting penalized for this for? This is just as a joke. But yeah, no, the hope is to keep growing, like in my channel, and expanding cricket, also expanding the rugby league and expanding Australian sports that haven't got the mark here. Because like I said, with the Vegas, I would love to be commentating. Like, my goal is to be a cricket commentator, but I could also commentate the rugby league. Like, I grew up listening to that, on the radio. That's how we would do Sunday afternoons. You're listening to the Sunday afternoon game on the radio. You're outside in the garage, or you're out and about, in the car on the radio. Then you'd watch the Sunday afternoon game, and it's Friday night, and so that's something I'm very passionate about is commentating. I have a couple clips I might tag you in of where I was commentating the Blues game.
Repost them, yeah.
Yeah, because I love it. It's just like, it's something that's built into me. Listening to so many games and watching so many games, just how it works. Coming into dummy half, out to the right, he's kicking it over the top. Taking on the 20, like running it out. Like, it's just part of me. So I love it.
So, firstly, quickly, Jamie Teasdale is one of the biggest Kennel fans. He's on with every show. He's just asking you, is that a 2012 grand final t-shirt?
Oh, it is. Yeah. It's a 2012 shirt. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
So in 2012, I was a member of the club. So I became like a financial member back in 2012. I think I took a couple years. At that time, I was living on the Central Coast. Like I said, I'm from Newcastle. And then if you lived within 100 clicks of the city, you could get a country membership, I think it was called. I would get to go to 4 games a year at whatever price. So I signed up for that because I had a membership. My auntie got me one. When I moved out of home, I was like, okay, I'm paying for my own membership now. So I had a membership for a few years, and I think I had it for from 12, 13, and 14. And then when I left the US, Australia, I think I, shut that down and moved on. But member of the club. So I was a member. Yeah.
That's honestly, this is so awesome just to get such a different perspective on like sport, from the first question I have is like, what do you think of what the NRL is actually doing? Given that you've now lived in both Australia and the US, and Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo and the team are trying to build some sort of anticipation for rugby league in the US. Do you think that it's the right way to go about it, and do you think it can be successful?
Yeah, I think what they're doing is very impressive. If you think about the NFL trying to move to Europe. Right. So they have NFL games up in Germany. They'll put a couple teams up there. You think about how the MLB is trying to move into Europe also. I think like England, they're having a partnership with like Harry Brook or Joe Root, one of those guys. They like connect them, and they're the cricket in England trying to help the MLB. Now the NRL coming to the US, like they're in Vegas, right? So it's a big lights and sounds production, big stadium, looks very good. Like the cricket here. We're trying to grow the cricket here, right? This year we were at the Oakland Coliseum, right? But that didn't bring as many people. We had like maybe 9,000 people maybe that first day. There was maybe the cap, or maybe 8,000 people came that first day. But at Vegas, they're getting 20,000. I don't know what the numbers were, but they get
50,000, I think.
50,000. Yeah, right. They're getting a much bigger a piece of that cake, right? A lot of people are coming to that game now, whether they're American, whether they're Aussies coming over, expats, whatever, who knows? But there's a lot of people there, a lot of bodies there. The production is very good. Maybe this year they'll go 3 games instead of 4. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to run that. It seemed like 4 games altogether could have been a little bit long, but overall, it was a lot of bodies there, and it was one day. It was put together very well. So yeah, I think it's hard to obviously run a whole sport or get everyone excited about a sport from a different country where you're just coming for one night only. Obviously, because there's no infrastructure here for rugby league. There's no rugby league. You know, they do have rugby, like you mentioned. Rugby is available at a junior level, and rugby. They even have USA Rugby, circuit and tournament per se. Not that it's very big, locally. I'm not even sure where my local team would be, but I know it does exist. Because if you go through the rankings of football, rankings of sport, you got the football, you got NFL, which they call football, baseball, hockey, and then everything else comes after that with all your lacrosses and everything else. Well, I guess you could add NASCAR in there also. It's also very big. But
soccer, is that how big is that in the US?
No, I wouldn't say it's as big. Not here in the States. Nothing like Europe is with the Premier League and all that kind of stuff. And even in Australia, A-League sits well behind rugby, Aussie rules, rugby league. It sits a fourth. I don't know if anything else comes in like after that, but you'd think Aussie rules and traditional rugby and rugby league are well above A-League in Australia.
Yeah, and A-League's taken a massive dip. Like they've just honestly they've killed it, and now they're pissing on its corpse. Like A-League is, bro. I have some friends who are massive A-League fans. Like back in the day, I don't know if you remember, like the Western Sydney Wanderers, and they had the red and black block, and they were trying to make it like a real big European style thing, and then sort of the AFL, the A-League absolutely pissed on it, and it's dead now. I think it'll be very hard to revive. But it makes a lot of sense. Like we in Australia, like we're a very small population. We still have quite a few sports. Like if you think about how big cricket, rugby league, rugby, and AFL are in Australia, like it's quite surprising for such a small population. I quickly want to point out a super chat that Dib has given. So firstly, he thinks that the St. George Dragons are going to win the season opener in Las Vegas next year.
Ooh.
I want to, two questions. What are your thoughts on that? And are you actually going to the game?
I would hope to go to the game. I would like to go to the game. We could make it a bit of a pop game. I have a daughter. She's 6. She might have a birthday around that time when it comes out. It'll be February-ish, right? Is that when it's happening? When does it happen?
Yeah, end of February.
Right? End of February, yeah. So she might have had a birthday around there. If logistically I can make it work, definitely I'll get out to there because obviously I think the doggies are playing. Who we got? We got
the
Canterbury,
Dragons.
Penrith. We have the Dragons.
And then it'll be Cowboys and Newcastle. That will be the
Cowboys and Newcastle. Okay. Yeah. Well, there we go. I get to 2 birds, 1 stone. I get to see the new car. I get to see the boys.
Yeah.
And the doggies.
Use the support.
Yeah, my use of support. Right. I'm gonna cross fingers that we make it work and I get out there for sure.
That'd be fantastic. All right. So let me ask you this. You've been following obviously the Dogs finals, things like that. Where are you watching the Storm versus Bulldogs? And how do you think the Dogs will go?
Well, so watching their last game, we lost to them a few weeks ago. The thing I noticed is that we bombed 5 tries. How many tries we bombed? Bombed like maybe 5 tries. 5 disallowed tries, 5 bomb tries, something like that. I think that was how I picked up from watching the game. So in retrospect, we should have beat them comfortably. If we had converted, if all those tries had been, we didn't drop the ball and we didn't get knocked out of our hands and, whatever. So I think we still look pretty good against the Dragons. I think we still look good against the Storm. So I think we can get that. We get that done. I think that's something we can get done if it all played out because they had no tries denied and we had a bunch of tries denied. So I think we crossed the line more times than them. So because that's something that if that rub of the green goes a little different for us, we scored 1 more try. We're in the money there for that game. So yeah, no, I think we can get it done. And then we get 2 bites of the cherry, even if it doesn't work, but I think we can get it done.
Well, I mean, you're right, because we had 10 line breaks to their 3. So when you think about what we can, as you say, we had bomb tries. There were heaps of opportunities for us to score. It's like, well, all it takes is for us to just, lift our intensity and control the ball a little bit better, and we can probably win. Like we scored the same amount of tries they did. Like that's the thing that people miss out. Sure, they were missing some players, but we also still experimenting, with our team. Because, like one of the things that I've been saying is that I think we shouldn't have moved Marnie out from 9. Bailey Hayward should have stayed at 9 instead of Marnie. What do you think of that?
Couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
All right, getting a little deep.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, like, so that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I follow it enough to know that we're doing it right, to know everyone's position, who's in and out. That's something that I haven't been done. It's just, yeah. So like, yeah. Like what? Like let me put it back to you. What do you think of this whole Sexton move, and how has it been for you, having the start of the year running where we're doing really good, and then we bring in the new kid on the block, and how is it all gelled for you, and how do you feel? How do you feel as a dog supporter that's like super invested and he's up to speed with everything? How do you feel it's going?
So, all right, my opinion is this: I think that it was a necessary move, and it was the right move. The same people that are slagging the Bulldogs and that are, criticizing the Bulldogs for making this move are the same people that said Sexton wasn't going to win us a grand final. So it's like you can't, with the media, you can't really win. Whatever you do, the media is going to be like, oh no, especially when you have certain agendas that are against the Dogs and are against Phil Gould, right? There's the Bulldogs will never be able to win. This is just a lose-lose situation for the team. So, like, for me, I think it's the right move, because everything that Sexton did, Galvin does, but then Galvin adds a little bit more. He's got more. He's more threatening in attack. He's a bit faster. I think he's got better footy IQ. The only thing is that it's taking time for the team to gel. That's where I think the difference is, or the problem is. But you know what's interesting? You probably don't hear all the noise and the media attention that the Bulldogs and this stuff is getting, given that you live so removed from it.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know the day today. For me to get the day today, I have to go and search. Like, I don't have access to like Fox Footy and that kind of thing. I'm searching for like clips of people talking about it. It's like I can just watch, like if I went back at home, I have Foxtel, right? I can just turn on Footy and I can watch it. That's not accessible to me. And then even, I don't have the even NRL Watch, which I don't think has too much on it anyway, other than just watching the full game. So yeah, like I said, it's hard for me to piece together everything. I'm really just watching the highlights and then grabbing the clips from the internet that I can find or that I'm seeing. A lot of it's just Gus School talking about this, Gus School talking about that. And then some Fox Footy clips, what Braithen Astor thinks. And then, kind of going with it. Like, I couldn't even tell you, I couldn't name the squad, right? And whereas everyone, I know obviously the main players, Bird and Critter and all that kind of thing. But like I said, how it's all intertwining, I just don't have the resources, you know what I mean? Because where am I going to get all that stuff?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I have to watch the Kennel. I have to tune into the Kennel podcast.
The boys. Right? Peter's asking, does Adam know that Galvin is blamed each week?
So I see most of what I see is from what I can, the Braithen Astor. What's the show with the Braithen Astor and
NRL 360?
NRL 360. Okay, so that's what I see.
NRL Desperate Housewives.
Yeah, that's what I see clips of, and them saying this and saying that. Like the biggest thing I saw, I watched yesterday's the highlights from last week's game, and there was a lot of, as they were shifting the ball across, there was a lot of balls going to ground. Yeah. So I don't know if that was something that was happening earlier in the year, if the balls were going to hand better and they're moving shape better, because the thing that you see is as soon as Critter gets the ball, he's making it happen. Doesn't matter where he is. Doesn't matter if he got the ball in the correct position. You got it out of position. If there's space between him and the defender, he's making a play. That's what happens. As soon as you give him space on the inside, you give him space on the outside, he moves in a way that puts someone in a hole, or he off puts the defender, and he's making the play happen. So obviously in an ideal world, you want everything running smoothly, but you have the best center in the game that's able to make something happen. And so, if they can get it to gel, because one of the things, I don't know if you watched or how much you noticed, watching the Blues. So this year, watching the Blues. I think it was game one. We won game one, right? We won game one. Yeah. In game one, the way they moved the ball, I was like, I've never seen the Blues move the ball like this before. Just the way they were running onto the ball. It was something like, for years, we've had a 7-year streak of no one winning, and just too many times we get into the 20-meter area or even the 30-meter line, and the ball isn't moving. Like, we don't know what to do, even though it just don't know what to do, right? But that game, they were just moving the ball with such fluidness, and everyone was running onto the ball, and it looked like art. You know what I mean? I've never seen that for a long time. And so watching the doggies, trying to put it together, it's not quite moving that way. You'd like it to move that way, but as soon as you give Critter the ball, he's making the play. So, those matchups, I think, are going to get the Dogs over the line. And if they can make their better plays and hit their spots, they're trying to hit their spots, So.
And look, I completely agree with you. And I think, like, when you look at Galvin, like, so firstly, with Galvin in the team, we actually average more points per game than with Sexton. I think that's just the first thing, right? Yeah. I think the other thing is, if you go back and watch some of the highlights, like, every time Galvin goes to the right and he links up with Critter, it works so perfectly, because it just finds its way to Kiraz, and 9 times out of 10 or 9.5 times out of 10, Kiraz will be able to get the ball down. He will score some freakish tries. It's a great finisher. And so I think, like, the other thing Galvin has done is he's unlocked Critter a little bit more than what Sexton had, I think. And that's something that when we go into the finals, it will be a lot more fluid in my opinion. Like, I know I'm a very, very optimistic, very hopeful guy. Like, no one's got the Doggies winning against Melbourne. I think that the Bulldogs are a better chance of winning than Melbourne are. And people are going to come after me for this, but I actually think the Bulldogs will do so well against Melbourne in Melbourne. Jamie's asking, who's your favorite NRL/Bulldogs player
of all time?
Yeah,
all time. It's hard to. Oh man. Oh geez. Wow. Wow. Man, just any name. I could. How about
you not think about it? If I ask you who's your favorite player of all time, just say the first name that comes to mind.
The first name that came to mind was Willie Mason. That was the first.
Willie Mason.
Willie Mason was the first name that I said. So Willie Mason's from Toronto. Like, I don't live far from him, where I was born. Willie Mason would be the first name and then Marco Mealy is also lived close to me. He's from Kurrambong. He lives even closer to me. And then, that would have been the first two. And then I would go to my, like, Shifty Sherwin, just being so, like, the kicking game of that. Like, that era of the Dogs is my Andrew Ryan and Steve Price and, oh, God, Luke Patton. Oh, my God. Yeah, that's me. Matty Utah. I love Matty
Utah Slam. No one will ever forget Utah Slam, bro.
Just coming out. Please kick the ball down into our end just pick it up on the try line, and I want to see him run out. Just the big legs, just running.
Bro. I'm not sure if you follow like the Panthers at all, but they've got a winger, like, Brian To'o, right? He plays for the Blues.
Yeah.
Honestly, I reckon Matt Utah was Brian To'o before Brian To'o was even born.
Like, they are very similar characters.
The only thing is, I think that To'o obviously has a higher work ethic than what Matt Utah would have had back then, but it's a completely different game in 2025 than what it was to 2004.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Bulldogs moment? Like, is there a moment as a Bulldogs supporter you remember? Obviously, you love and cherish the 2004 grand final, and believe me, I do too. But is that the moment, or is there a particular moment?
No, that's not the moment. No. The moment for me, the thing that I'm never gonna forget ever in my life is, it's actually not when Daryl Halligan kicked the goal. It's the missed field goal. So the 1998. So 1998, they're playing Parramatta. I don't know how old you are if you watched it, but I watched this game live. And this game,
I'm born 89. So
okay. We're same age. Okay, got it. So I'm watching the 98. At the time, it was the first. It's a cool story. This is the first time ever in my life I've made a bet. I made a bet.
Wow.
One of my parents' friends was over. She was a big Parramatta supporter, and we're like, we bet. The bet $10. And as 8 years old, right? 62 minutes into the game, we're losing by, like, I don't know what the score was, 14 to something, 14 to 2, 14 to 4, something like that. We're losing, and I'm like, we're going to lose this. We're going to lose this game. So I'm like, oh, I'm getting upset. I'm like, oh, we're going to lose the game. And then all of a sudden we start coming back and we're coming back and we score a try. We score another try. And then he kicks the goal from the sideline. Like, there's a good, if you haven't seen it already, the NRL put out Defying the Impossible, little mini series on YouTube. There's a 7-minute video of the Dogs of that game and Halligan and talking about it. And anyway, so now we're locked up. Scores are locked up. And then the old mate from Parramatta, they blow the whistle and he kicks the ball for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And they gather the ball on the 50. And I don't know, forget who he kicks it, but he kicks the ball and just watching that ball fly. And I thought it went over, and obviously they had to go upstairs to check, but no, it flies under the black dot. And that moment, because at that point, I don't even remember the Dogs winning. I know they did win the game, but it was that moment of them raising him up in the air, putting it like when they thought they had won the game. I don't know. When they raise him up,
I think it was Polamauna.
They think that they won the game. That's probably the key. That's probably a key moment right there. That's something that I'm not going to forget. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and then you could probably in a round with that, you could add Sonny Bill versus Clinton shoulder charge. You can add that into the mix. You can add in O'Mealy versus Gibbs.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, those were just Dogs of War, mate. Those were the Dogs of War days.
That's what we're trying to bring back.
Trying to bring it back. Dogs of War, yeah.
It's interesting. My moment that stands out for me, there's a couple of moments. The one that stands out for me is that Hazem Masri try in the grand final. If there was ever a moment that personified the Bulldogs, that sort of really, it was so, it showed who the Bulldogs were because of who Hazem was. Like, he was from the local community, he's Lebanese immigrant, came, he's playing with the Bulldogs, got his opportunity, scores like a great try in the grand final off his good mate Brent Sherwin, who as we said before, doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And he gets tackled, but then he doesn't stop. He keeps driving, keeps fighting, and he scores that try that wins us the game invariably. And for me, that stands out as a moment. I remember watching that try being awarded, and I was almost in tears. I was like, oh my god, Hazem, he's a Lebo, I'm a Lebo.
Yeah.
And back then it was a very different time. I don't want to make a political order, but just to give you an understanding of why it was so important to me, 9/11 had just happened. Arabs and Muslims weren't very well liked in the media, weren't very well liked by anyone really. And you'd see it. We would suffer from it all the time. And it was something that as a young man growing up, I did cop, even though I look like a bogan. I look more Aussie than most Aussies, right?
Yeah.
And seeing Hazem score that try at that one moment was so, I don't know if it was it relieved the pressure valve, but it was just it was a little win for everybody that was sort of going through some of that stuff that they really shouldn't have been going through. But then he earned it. He scored 340 or whatever points that season, kicked however many goals in a row, won us so many games. And it was, it's that moment that moment stands out a lot for me. And I guess one player that stands out for me as a Bulldog and will forever stand out for me is Ben Barber.
Oh, Benny Barber, yeah.
Till now, Thurston, us losing Thurston was a big loss, went on to be one of the best ever. But I still think that what Ben Barber did for the Bulldogs and what he was able to do in that one season, I think very few players will ever match what he was able to do. I think there's only 3 players in the history of, I guess, NRL since 98 that will do what Ben Barber did. So if you remember Jared Hayne in 2009, that run that he had as fullback, goated, absolutely goated. And had Melbourne not been cheating the cap, I think Parramatta would have won that grand final quite handily.
Yeah.
In my opinion, right? Because they were superior. I remember going to that semi-final, Eels versus Dogs, and just being completely heartbroken at losing that semi to...
we shouldn't have lost that game. Yeah, you should have got suspended for 2 knees in the back.
I don't disagree with you, but shit happens, right? That was a very low moment for me. But Ben Barber, My favorite Bulldog of all time is always going to be Terry Lamb. Terry Lamb and Hasmul Masri like are tied. Like they will forever be my favorite Bulldogs, closely followed by Sonny Bill. And everybody else is just like, but Ben Barber has like that real, like there's that sorrow almost of what Ben Barber could have done with the Bulldogs, right? Could have achieved. Like you imagine he stayed. Anyway, it was a big story, and we all know.
No, I like
Barber
that. No, I think with the Ben Barber thing, like that was the backing. He did something that you don't see too much of. I don't know these days. It's the backing up on the inside for the offload and just break it away. Like he was so often just like right there, ready for the ball, and then away he goes. Loved that. Like, kind of like, oh yes, I'm going to add one person to that list. You had Blacklock is a similar guy that was a similar player that was able to do that same kind of stuff. I think Blacklock might have played the wing, not fullback, but similarly, he was like kind of backing up always and breaking away and doing a similar role. And then you mentioned the Hasmul Masri try. I guess I have to shout out Andrew Ryan for the tackle on Crocker at the very end.
Bro.
Shout out to Dubbo. Shout out to all the boys in Dubbo. That's
what a try-saving tackle.
That was almost the game because I remember I was watching it in Burke. I was out in Burke. I always go watch the grand finals out in Burke. My godfather was out there. He was a huge Manly supporter, so I got to rub it in when the Knights beat the Manly. But I was very nervous in those final 10 minutes of the Doggies game against the Roosters. I was like, oh god, here we go. But yeah, that tackle put a wrap on it, put a bow on it.
Oh, it was great. Beautiful. And actually, did you watch last year's grand final? Panthers and Storm.
No, just the highlight of the next, replay the next day.
There was a moment there that Paul Alamotti, who used to be a Bulldog, had in that final 5 minutes or whatever it was, where it was similar. The Melbourne Storm were coming, and there was a kick that was placed, and I think Alamotti took the kick, or he gathered the ball or something like that, and he pretty much won the game for the Panthers in that last moment. And I swear to God, when I was actually there at the game, and I remember watching that and thinking, God, this reminds me of what Andrew Ryan did for the Bulldogs in 2004. Like it was great. Like, and you brought it up now, and it just reminded me of that. Which is, what a trip down memory lane. Look, man, like I can talk so much. So let me ask you then. Tell me a little bit about like how you got into, or why you got into cricket specifically, and why you do your cricket videos.
Yeah, so
in the love and passion that you have for rugby league, and
so growing up in Australia, I played cricket. I wasn't allowed to play rugby league. My old man played rugby league, and he played cricket, and they were like, "No, you're not playing rugby league." So, but I mean, I was out in the backyard every time I could, trying to be honestly, my goal as a kid was to try to be Daryl Halligan. That was my dream. I would be out in the backyard trying to kick a ball through the fence. We had big fence in the backyard, trying to kick it over the fence, and then then Hasmul Masri came along, so then trying to be Hasmul Masri. But obviously, I also played cricket. It was just the dream to be able to kick. I loved the kicking. Like I love the kicking game of Andrew Johns. I love the kicking game of Andrew Sherwin. That's all I would do in the backyard is practice my chip over the tops of my grubbers, like that, like as all Aussies do, right, in the backyard. I remember. But I got stuck into cricket and played cricket at a fairly high level. Played some rep under 15. Got to travel. I got to play in Sri Lanka. I got to play in Hong Kong. My sister was also very good. She played for ACT, state level. And my old man now, he's a coach. He coached the state boys team. And it's just been the cricket thing is something that I've just loved. Even though I didn't get to play at a super high level or go to play for New South Wales or first grade, I loved it. And my passion, well, not my passion, but I guess my career ended up me as a chef. I'm actually a chef by trade. So hospitality allowed me to not play enough cricket because you're working the weekends, right? But so what happened, how I got to America in the first place was I wrote 2 cookbooks. I have 2 cookbooks behind me, and I had a big YouTube channel that was called Fit Couple Cooks. And I grew that to like 500,000 followers, and I did meal prep. It was like a meal prep chef. That's how I first moved to America, was doing that. So I was a full-time YouTuber. And amazing. So I kind of had given up the cricket. I'd played, I played grade cricket with my dad. We got to play cricket together, and I had a good CNS group that I played cricket with. But basically when I left Australia, I gave up cricket. Honestly, didn't think I'd just like the Bulldogs. It's like rugby league. Oh, I don't have access to rugby league. No one knows about it. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to do cricket. I'm just going to live my life. And I lived my life. But recently, I'd get at this stage of my life, I just turned 35 and I was thinking about like all the things that I loved to do. And so it was more like last year, actually. It was more last year. And I was like, I really want to get more invested in cricket and find a cricket team and talk more about football and watch more football. And people that I meet that are big NFL fans, I do my best to like educate them on NRL and show them state of origin and try to have watch parties and things like this. But last year when Team USA beat Pakistan in the World Cup, it was a huge thing of it. It was a huge news thing. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, the USA has a cricket team," and even me, I was like, "USA has a cricket team? What do you mean? What do you mean you play cricket? What are you talking about?"
I was today years old and I realized.
Yeah, I was today years old. What are we talking about? So I watched through the TikToks and the Instagram, and I'm watching all the news articles pop up, and all the comments are the same. What do you mean we have cricket? What is cricket? So I'm like, okay, this is my job to teach them. So I literally like just went to the window, put the phone up, got the whiteboard out, filmed in 12 minutes. I filmed how to play cricket, right? Stick figure drawing. And then I edited it because, like I said, a YouTuber, so I can edit. I edited the video quick, did some zoom in, zoom out cuts, added some text on the screen, put it up, cut it to 8 minutes. And within 48 hours, it had 1 million views.
Wow.
So because everyone in America was searching for cricket because they didn't understand it. All of a sudden, USA now is in the spotlight for this cricket. They don't know how cricket works. And I was the only one talking about it. That explained it. That explained cricket in baseball terms. Because the video was cricket. It's kind of like baseball. And then I explain it
but
literally in baseball terms. Rather than just saying it's two guys with two bats and you hit the ball and you cross over in the crease line. It was literally like, this is, baseball. Well, instead of this, it's this. Instead of this, it's this. And it's kind of like that. And the video resonated very well. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep making videos. Just like with my meal prep. When I made one meal prep video, went viral. I kept making meal prep videos. It kept growing. So that's been the same thing. It's just been continually educating and growing. I followed the World Cup last year. Got a lot of views, a lot of attention. Then the MLC, which is the Major League Cricket here in the USA, that went straight for the World Cup to MLC round 2. And again, didn't know we had a Major League Cricket. So now I covered that. Has a lot of international players, a lot of Australians. Last year, there was Pat Cummins, Travis Head, Steve Smith. A lot of the Aussie guys that were in the Australian team are playing in America. And then, it's, I know. Even Australians don't know. Yeah, even Australians don't know.
Insane.
So then it flew. Then it went through. TikTok started blowing up. My TikTok got to I think it's like 20 or so thousand now on TikTok. And then, kept growing that, adding in other sports, like talking more about baseball specific. And then I flipped it. I was like explaining baseball to cricketers, like Pakistan and Indian and native people that understand that, right? And then I did a lot of videos on the Olympics, and the Olympics came up. So then I was explaining rivalries because America doesn't quite understand that Australia hates them a little bit. And there's a rivalry, especially in swimming, because America wins most of the events, but Australia comes second in most of the events. Yeah. And there was a big thing during the Olympics, like, why are Australians hating Americans? I'm like, well, it's because we come second to you in the swimming, and we have a beef with you, even though you don't know we have a beef with you. So I was explaining that kind of stuff, and it just kept growing. And then into this year, we had the next wave of MLC 3, and I decided I'm going to go to Oakland, California. The big baseball. Have you seen Moneyball? Have you seen the movie Moneyball? Yeah. Where they played at Oakland Coliseum where the A's play. And so, I went down there, and I was like, on a whim, I was filming everything, reacting to everything. And then everyone kind of figured out who I was. They even had live during the broadcast. They're filming me, filming myself. And then they're talking about me on the broadcast, and they had the guys come down, and I commentated a ball live during the game. And then it was like, okay, so now the finals are going to be in Dallas. Let's have you come back for Dallas. We'll give you full media pass. You can do all access, talk to all the players. So I'm talking to Nikki P, Karen Pollard. I got to talk with Ricky Ponting and Usama Hat, and then and Maxwell, and talking with them and the press. You think about how much when you go to press conferences, I don't know if you've been to press conferences, but like you're expecting like a sea of media, right? I'm in this press conference with like Ricky Ponting. It would have been the smallest press conference I've ever been in. There was like 3 guys, just 3 of us asking him questions because the pool of people in America that are invested in cricket is so small. But they're America is sharing these international players that are huge in other countries. You know what I mean? Like Maxwell and Head and Pat Cummins and, you know, all the guys, Trent Bolt, like all these international, Rashid Khan, all these international players are big in their country. And then Americans, like a lot of them said, they like playing cricket in America because no one knows who they are.
Yeah,
they get to have a bit of a holiday. They're not getting stopped for paparazzi. They're not getting pulled up in the street.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's been the drive, is to really the whole point was to grow Australian sports, and the cricket's the thing that took off the quickest. That was the first thing I kind of went to, you know. So the goal, really, the end goal is to grow all the sports. That I find people that understand rugby league, they understand Aussie rules, they understand V8 supercars, they understand Bathurst, they understand, you know what I mean. Australian has some of the greatest sports 100%. And the greatest sporting games that aren't played in any other country. Even something simple as lawn bowls. Yeah. Lawn bowls is not played anywhere else other than Australia. Like, just think of how simple that is, right? But it's like Australians.
It's so much fun.
It is honestly, so much fun. Because it's fun. It's so much fun. But like, there's these sports that like, and I'm in. America is the sporting capital of the world. You could argue is the sporting mecca of the world. Like, they love their sport here. And there's these Australian sports that are phenomenal that they don't play just because they just don't know them. That's all it is. Just don't know them. They don't understand the rules. They don't know how to play. They don't have the infrastructure here to play them. Maybe they do. Like, actually, they do. They have a lot of football stadiums. They could facilitate $60,000, $80,000, 80 stadium to play rugby league. They can do that. But it's not they just don't know. That's all it is. And so my hope is just to educate them a little more and sprinkle a little bit of like all the stuff that I love about Australia and all the sports that I love, and so that Americans play more of them.
Wow, I mean that's incredible. Like the fact that you're able to get into this, MLC or whatever it's called, just sort of some of it, just by sort of explaining to people what it is. I think it's great. And to be honest, like I reckon like Americans, once, as you say, once they get more exposure to these sports, will definitely be like, all right, we want to know more. As you can see, like, your video took off. So do you still do your health, fit cooking?
The pick up hooks? No. So the channel's still there. It's now called Easy Meal Prep Recipes. I think it's now called. But all my videos are still there. And like I said, we did millions of views making different videos, like 100 recipes or something. And like I said, and then it grew into the cookbooks. And that was a whole thing, so we traveled, like I said, I was full-time YouTuber, traveled the US for the book tour. And yeah, like most of my life was vlogged there. So like me, getting married, coming to America, because my partner, but turned out to be my wife, now ex-wife, we did the channel together. So when 2020 happened and the world kind of went crazy and everything, we just kind of paused the channel. And then eventually, we're not together anymore. So we, gave it to someone else that had a meal prep. They had a meal prep website. So I use it now. So, but it's still there. You can still watch all the videos.
Yeah, I might take a gaze, have a look at it. But it's, because your content's really good. Like I came across it because I'm a big cricket fan. I just, obviously Instagram is like, hey, you might like this. Because you seem like you're dumb and don't know what cricket is. So yeah, watch.
I come up. I have a lot of likes. I do, like on Instagram, it's like I do like 3 million views a month, but that's not even the videos that I posted that month. It's like all of my old stuff still posts regularly and keeps getting for people's feed. And I'm going to tag you in a video I did. There was like, I also just like crazy ideas I come up with. So I did a video totally randomly. It was, what would it be like if the NRL had NFL bracket, if it had an NFL conferences? And so I did that, and it's so funny. You should go watch it and then look at the comments. The comments are totally unhinged. I actually had Matt Geyer comment. Like, he was like, bro, he's like, where are the Waz? And I'm like, I know. I needed to make a 16-man team. I left the Waz off, but like all of New Zealand is in the chat. Like all of New Zealand's in the chat. It's like, where are the Waz, bro? What about the Waz? up the wazoo. Like the whole chat is up the wazoo because now we have 17 teams. It just made it easier for me to put the Dolphins into the northern bracket, the northern conference, right? And then I'm like, in my head, I was like, I didn't expect it to do so well as a video. And I'm like, no one's going to notice that the Warriors aren't on there.
The Warrior fans notice everything. And let me tell you, actually, you said about having like a second team, beside, the main team. And for me, it's the Warriors. I absolutely love and have always loved the Warriors. Like,
it is a soft spot team for sure.
Always. If the Bulldogs don't win the grand final, I always want the Warriors to. Like, every other team, I dislike.
So if I was to look at it right, let's talk about this, Doggies fans. Who is, as a Doggies fan, our most hated club? Who's the most hated club?
Eels by far. Eels. Look.
Can we get some Eels in the chat? That is the correct answer. That is the correct answer, sir. That's the correct answer. Eels 100%. Eels 100%.
I will forever look. I hate the Broncos pretty badly, right?
Yeah.
I hate the Broncos very, very much. Like, I wish nothing but absolute failure and devastation for the Broncos. Bro, I feel very strongly about this. I hate the Broncos. Like, I think the Broncos are a crap team with a crap. Bro, I can go all day about the Broncos. I hate the Broncos. But the Eels, I'll tell you what, the Eels are like, you can't be a Doggies fan and not hate the Eels.
You can't.
Like, it just does not work.
You can't. Right? No.
They're forever in our shadow. They're a big club with a small club mentality. They haven't won a grand final since 1986. It's going to be 40 years or whatever next year.
Wow, thinking about it, yeah, wow.
They still talk about Jared Hayne and all the stars from the 80s and so on and so forth. But they are a shit team. But I will say one thing. I have to say one thing. I'm pretty sure you're not following, but they got a new coach this year, Jason Riles.
Okay. Jason Riles from the Georgia War. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So he's done his apprenticeship. He's been assistant coach to Craig Bellamy, assistant coach to Trent Robertson from the Roosters.
Okay.
So he's done a good apprenticeship. He went to rugby for a little bit. Now he's come back and they've given him the head coaching role, and he has been excellent. He has been very, very good. And I'm a fan of him as a coach.
Yeah.
I'm just excited that it's at the Eels.
Yeah. No Eels.
And honestly, the tastiest moment as a Bulldogs fan this year was beating the Eels twice. But then the second time, Galvin played against the Eels and he scored. Right? Because all the Eels fans were like, he's going to the Eels. He's going to be our future 5'8". He's going to play alongside Moses. And then he pretty much gave them the up yours and said, no, I'm going to go to a team that's actually got some success coming their way. And that was the biggest, sweetest moment other than us smashing the Rabbitohs. So, yes, I have a lot of hate for other teams.
It have to be Eels. Oh, of course, but it have to be the Eels, the Roosters, Melbourne, and Brisbane. I think they're for me. Even the other Sydney teams. I don't really hate the other Sydney teams. I don't like the Roosters. Because I feel like the Roosters. When I explain to people, the next video I'm going to put out about the NRL is, if you were an NRL fan, which NFL team would you support? Like, what would be the comparative thing? And I can explain, like, the Roosters are the pretty boys of the NRL, and they would be like the 49ers. Like, they're like it's like a pretty boy team. The Roosters have always been like I call them the pretty boy club.
No, you're right.
I don't know how you refer to them, but Bondi, they're the Bondi boys. Bondi boys, they're pretty boys, lattes on the beach. Like, that's how I always envision the Roosters. They're
the glamour club. They're the glamour club that buys their premierships. Like, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So that's a thing there. So like, we're like the dogs of war. We're always the underdogs. We're the dog, and they're the pretty boys across town. Across over by the beach. But yeah.
And they were our, like, don't forget, in the early 2000s, even up to sort of 2014 or whatever, they were big, like, and they still really are massive rivals for the Dogs. Like, every time we play the Roosters, I feel like it's always a bit of a grudge match, and there's always like a lot of feeling and emotion. Obviously, nothing as big as like the Dogs and the Eels or the Rabbitohs and the Roosters, but it's still like there's always an emotion there. Like, we beat you guys in 2004. You guys it was your third grand final, and you thought you guys were going to get it over us because Fittler was retiring, but we won.
Yeah.
And and there's been some mad grudge matches over the years as well. And don't forget, like in 2006 or I think maybe 2008, Marco Mealy, Braithen Astor, Willie Mason, and a couple of other of our younger players went to the Roosters for a good paycheck. They didn't achieve anything there, obviously, but still, like, there's always going to be that tension and that hate between the Rabbitohs, the Bulldogs and the Roosters. We've been talking for about an hour and a half, over an hour. I think we keep talking for so much more. This has been so much fun. I'd love to have you on again. Like, I would love to have you come on, like, maybe after you watch the game with another Doggies fan or whatever, take some photos. Let's have a chat about it after the game. What do you reckon?
I'd love to. I'd love to be back on it. I love nothing more than talking about it and yeah, bringing up. It's just good thinking about the stories and bringing up the history and I hope all the Doggies fans out there, maybe went a little trip down memory lane and learned some stuff or relive some stuff, because that's what it's all about. Bringing back the old days. You gotta bring back them old days.
Oh, bro, I'm honestly just talking about the 98, the semi, and talking about the 95 grand final, and then talking about 2004 and all those names. It's been quite a mad trip down memory lane. And actually, I can probably announce this now, and I want to make it very clear. We're going to have a former Bulldogs player coming on to the podcast next week to preview the game against the Storm. So he was in the 2004 grand final. He was part of the team. And he's coming on next week to preview the game against the Storm. I don't know what day yet. I'm just trying to lock in the logistics of it. But I will have like a preview video and stuff like that. So I'm very, very excited then. And I'm definitely going to go down memory lane with him. I'm definitely going to be talking about some of the stuff that we've so the 2004 grand final, and before we get into the game, so watch out for that. I'll make sure that I tag you in a lot of the stuff just so you know when it's all happening. And honestly, I'd love to have you on sometime again next week, and maybe this time. And I got to say, like, I got really busy with work. I wanted to hype this up a lot more, and I apologize, but I promise the next time we'll do a lot more.
No worries. I loved being on. Love the chat, and
let's do it again soon. Thank you so much, Adam. It's been an absolute pleasure coming on, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Hey, be sure if you do share any of the rugby league stuff, tag me in it. I'll share it with all our members, hopefully. So again, thank you so much, Adam. It's been a pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to talk to you. Final word. Give me your prediction for the Dogs against the Storm.
Doggies over the Storm. We're gonna say 20 points to 12.
Not a bad shout. All right, give me anytime try scorer for the Dogs. Tell me who's going to score for the Dogs.
Who's going to score for the Dogs?
Yeah.
Critter's going to score a try. Burton's going to score a try. And me mate. Who's me mate that keeps scoring? Jackson? No, is that his net? No.
Preston.
Sorry, I keep calling Jackson.
Not a bad shout. He had a great game against the Panthers. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's really late there in New York, so thank you so much for staying up with us. It's been an absolute laugh. Guys, please be sure to check out Adam Bannon Cricket USA on Instagram, on TikTok, on all the socials. I'll have the link down in the description below as well, so you guys can follow Adam's content. Big thank you once again, Adam, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Cheers, mate.